to care and to change lives. Greatness cannot be achieved, but also have supported me in this journey. I'm not working, I'm always with them. My husband Ravi has been my pillar of thought and strength in my group. Blessed to have such a vast legacy to carry forward. That a legacy is etched into the minds of others, and the stories, lives you touch, doesn't matter. It's how you touch those lives. But most importantly, I'm here to change lives. I am Dr.
Our own dear Foxy President, Dr. Nandita Palshetkar. I have to say a word here before I introduce. She traveled 10 hours with the love and affection. She is the president of Foxy, one of the most strongest, vibrant associations of gynecologists in the world. I think congratulations for being the president of the prestigious organization. She was the first vice president of Foxy, one of the biggest societies of Foxy. She is the past president of IAG State Society, erstwhile APCOG, after seeing a mouse. So 2012 we started, and afterwards, after the election of the state, the PCOG also happened. Such a vibrant organization, so looking at it, you can understand that it means a lot for all the state to and she's been one of the most admired, valuable. If I start talking about it, I need generation. And when you look at her valuable and admirable gynecologist 2017, Best Fertility and IVF Group of the Year 2017, she has actually received the Certificate of Excellence and Gaurav Award and the Best Practice Award as IVF Service Provider. Not only that, friends, she has been recipient of the Foxy CSR Award, which has been actually given, looking from Hyderabad, who are sitting here, were agreed to be. You know what few of my friends told me? You have lot of Foxy friends, lot of people who have been Foxy presidents. But if we have to vote, we will vote for Nandita as the best president and the best human being. Thank you, Nandita, for being that, and I'm sure you will continue being.
What a beautiful drive. I mean, I really enjoyed it. From Gorakhpur, absolutely when I was landing, it was like a green carpet. And the drive from Hyderabad to Nizamabad was fantastic. And I had the company of Preeta, Shanta's husband. I think, first of all, I would really like to congratulate the TOG. I think TGOG. Because it is fantastic the way everybody has come, and you've become a very vibrant society and one of the important pillars of Foxy. Shanta, thank you very much for inviting me here. I mean, I'm here, friends, because Shanta is a very, very dear friend, and I came because I could not say no to her. But I'm really glad that I came here because it's a chance to connect with everybody. And I remember during my elections, my vice president elections, Shanta, you had invited me to the Andhra Pradesh. It was AP conference that time. And there were so many people, and it was great meeting people and knowing people. So I think this is one of the vibrant societies. So Dr. Rama Devi, Dr. Padmaja, Auntie in Nizamabad, Balamba, Vidyadhani, Indira Devi, some of the names, the senior people whom I've connected with over the years. And of course, Vindhya, Aruna, Krishna, Jamuna, and Team Hyderabad. And one person I must not forget in Andhra, Tirupati. Thank you very much. He picks me up at 1 o'clock in the night, and I'm such a scared baby, I will not travel alone with the driver. So he has to send somebody everywhere. But thank you very much for being here, and today what I'm going to talk about is 9 months of pregnancy window of opportunity. I think in Foxy, this has been one of the highlights of the year, when we are focusing on maternity care through our various projects like Manyata, etc. And this is something which each obstetrician should know and should practice and see what is new. I'm going to tell you of something different also today. See, antenatal period, if you look at it, is a golden opportunity to predict, pick up and manage many complications. Remember, at this stage, you are treating the mother and the fetus. You don't have one patient, you have two patients you have to look for. If you look at the first trimester, what are you going to screen for? Aneuploidies, definitely. Of course, missed abortions, blighted ovaries, etc. But also today, things are changing and you can identify PIH, IUGR and the so-called obstetric syndromes. The diabetes comes in it, infections come in it. And today, there are a lot of tests available and actually in the first trimester, you can pick up these problems. And there are treatments available right from the first trimester, and that is what I'm going to deal with today. So if you look at screening for aneuploidies in the fetus, all of us know that Down syndrome is one of the most common chromosome abnormalities in the human. Incidence in the general population is 1 to 700. And we all know that Down's baby is not only it's an economic burden for the couple, but also a social problem. And also the parents are always worried who will look after the child after them. So I think this is something which is very socially traumatic and it needs to be picked up. And it is our duty. It is very unforgivable for a gynecologist and an obstetrician to actually miss this condition in today's world. And that is why we need to be vigilant. It's not age related. You have to screen every pregnancy for Downs. And what are the tests that are available? You have the ultrasound and the biochemical markers. The biochemical markers are just screening tests. That means they will give you incidence. That every 250 pregnancies that are born, one baby may be a child, maybe a Down syndrome. And those screening tests, there is a combined test, which is nuchal scan plus the double marker. The double marker has beta HCG and PAP-A. And if you look at the combined test, this is only for screening, not for diagnosis. What it does is it's a computer program where it takes the age and the biochemical parameters which you get and gives you a risk factor. What is the incidence? And it helps us distinguish between low-risk population and high-risk population. And definitely the cutoffs have been created from different statistics. If the woman is older than 35, it's 1 in 250 or lower would be a high-risk population. If she is younger than 35, 1 in 350 is the cutoff. And remember one thing, if your patient comes in the high risk, you can do a test which is available now, the non-invasive prenatal testing, or you can go directly for the invasive testing if it's not available in your city for a definite diagnosis. And also today, if the NIPT is positive, we still recommend doing a chorion biopsy. Now, Fetal Medicine Foundation UK is really a pioneer in all these fetal medicine tests which are available. And I know there are fetal medicine specialists today, but they are not available in each and every corner of the country. Obstetricians need to be aware what all are the tests that we must do and we must take care of our patients. So when compared to only age as a risk factor for trisomies, the combined test, what it does, so if you consider age, when I start now with the combined test which has come, we do amniocentesis in less than 3% of the patients. Remember that also it increases the detection of Down syndrome and other major chromosomal abnormalities from less than 50% to 95%. And that is why we must do these tests today for our patients. If you do only the double marker with the nuchal thickness, it's 90% sensitivity. But when you just add the nasal bone to it, the sensitivity increases to 95%. And I think that is something that our sonologists can do, or you can do it when you are doing the sonography yourself. What are the advantages of the combined test, that is nuchal scan and double marker? It's a non-invasive test. Result is provided at an earlier gestational age, 11 to 13, so enough time for decision making, and especially if it's Down's positive, early termination is possible because you can do amniocentesis with fish and get the report within a day. Sensitivity is very, very high, 90%. So combined test is the need of the day. The second trimester we had the triple marker. But today the quadruple marker is available, and that is what we must do. We must not do the triple test anymore. Please stop doing the triple test. The 70% sensitivity and 5% false positive rate, if you do the quadruple test, it's 81% sensitivity, and that's why we must switch over to the quadruple test. A statistically significant association between APO and the quadruple test was found. And of course, you know, if you look at the MOM, that is what is important. So when you get a double marker plus is what is done today. And that can give you an idea in the first trimester about adverse pregnancy outcomes. And what are those? Oligohydramnios, preterm labor, PROM, preeclampsia, IUGR, polyhydramnios, and GDM. NIPT is the new kid on the block. What is it? These are the circulating cell-free DNA of fetal origin which are floating around in the mother's blood. And this testing can start as early as 9 weeks and until delivery. But the best period is 9 weeks to about 20 weeks. After that, the percentage of the cell-free DNA reduces, and this is the best time, and obviously this is the time when we can actually take action. The maternal indication, today I offer it to my patients. And I think, you know, this is a lesson I learned earlier on in my practice. One of the patients had a problem, and one of my colleagues was talking about the patient to me, and the patient came to me and said, "Madam, rather than have this outcome, we would have afforded the test. We would have done it if you would have told us." So I think it's very important take-home messages. Don't take a decision for your patient. Tell them what is what. Explain to them the cost and what are its pros and cons. And you must empower the woman to take the decision herself. And sometimes, yes, it's not affordable, but they will opt for the other one, but they will tell you themselves. Because having an abnormal child is lifelong, and you need to, be able to pick it up in today's day and age. Whatever you can pick up, and if you missed it, it's positive NIPT invasive techniques. The sensitivity is 99%. So it's very, very accurate. In fact, today we have installed in Bombay cell-free DNA testing of the embryo. So you put the embryo to grow from day 0 to day 5 in the culture media droplet. The DNA of the embryo actually comes out into the culture media, and you can take a droplet of this culture media and test the embryo's DNA. So it's amazing the way technology has moved forward. You know, you don't have to be invasive anymore. You can actually just do it by not harming the embryo. Sonography is very, very important. I think it is more or less replacing the per-vaginal examination that we actually do. A lot of times, gynecologists have their own sonography machine and they do it. And during the 9th of pregnancy, especially, it is an absolutely indispensable tool. The early scan at 7 weeks helps detect multiple pregnancy, and also if the pregnancy is monoamniotic, monochorionic, or dichorionic, etc., needs to be identified. The chorionicity can be detected by 9 to 10 weeks, based upon which the entire management of multiple pregnancy is based. So these are some of the important points which we must remember to do the sonography. Nuptial scan is scheduled between 11 to 13 weeks, and the anomaly scan at 18 to 22 weeks helps detect a number of structural abnormalities of the fetus. I'm not getting into the details of it, but just this information. And you need to counsel your patients that sonography is not harmful to a baby. Because otherwise the women are just not willing to do so many repeated sonographies. It is your counseling which will convince her to do it, and the minute you tell her that abnormalities can be picked up, I think any mother is ready to do the scans. The fetal echo by an expert at 22 to 24 weeks can help detect most of the cardiac anomalies. And this is what we are fighting with the government. We are talking to the government. In fact, in Maharashtra, I've been called on the government body to give instructions. This committee feels, so we are creating guidelines so that certain anomalies, without a doubt, without wasting time, the girl will be given an instruction by the court that she can do it. And of course, at the same time, we are fighting with the government. Actually, we are working with the government. They are also very keen on amending the act that we increase it to 24 weeks. Then growth scans help pick up IUGR at the earliest. Doppler study helps decide about fetal well-being in IUGR and helps decision-making for the timing of termination in IUGR. It's very important to remember. Now today, ideally you should take the measuring tape and measure the fundus. With the hand, I can say 22 weeks, you will say 24 weeks. So it becomes very, very variable. So if you really want to do a proper antenatal, you should take a tape and measure the fundal height in those patients, and that will give you an idea what is really happening. Genetic sonogram is a very, very important tool which is available to us. Of course, it is at a higher level of sonography. You need a lot of training, so you must have somebody who will do this for you, or you are trained at giving. So 3 parts: size of the fetus and long bones, search for major anomalies, and assessment of the soft markers. They will help you predict whether your baby has any genetic abnormality. Another epidemic that has really hit our country is diabetes mellitus. And you will see an increased incidence of GTM. In fact, Indian women have an 11-fold higher risk of GTM. And a universal screening is definitely the requirement. It's a simple, feasible, acceptable, and a single-step procedure which is needed. And that is what is, I'm going to tell you what it is about. Prediction of GTM, this is a very boring list of history, but this must raise your antenna if it's present in your patient. For GTM, all patients have to be screened, but other obstetric syndromes, we must remember the history is important. So identifying the risk factors in the history, family history of diabetes, previous pregnancy with GTM, previous large baby, IUFT of a large baby, shoulder dystocia, previous anomalous baby, recurrent UTI, and on examination you find obesity, acanthosis, acrocordons, abnormal waist-hip ratio. Lab screening test, latest and most acceptable in our country after a lot of studies, is DIPSI, diabetes in the pregnancy study with India. What do they recommend? You give her oral glucose 75 milligrams as soon as she enters your clinic. You don't have to call her fasting. And after 2 hours, you just collect a single blood sample. And if that is less than 140, that means she's not diabetic. And this actually increases the specificity and eliminates the false positive diagnosis of GTM. And this is really important because in women with GTM, what happens? Impaired insulin secretion increases glycemic level with the meal, and the glucose challenge is expected to exaggerate the glycemic excursion. So this is a simple one-step test which you must do for your patients, and it's highly recommended in our country. Whom to screen? See, 80% of the patients develop GTM in the second trimester, so 24 to 28 weeks is ideal. But in our country, as many as 70 to 20% patients are in the first trimester, and we must do it. So I feel as a rule you must do the screening in the first trimester, second trimester, and third trimester in our country. There is a need for universal screening, and more so in Indian women. I cannot underline this more. 10 weeks. Our cutoff is 6. And remember, it helps to distinguish pre-diabetes mellitus and gestational diabetes mellitus when you get GDM in early pregnancy. Say in the first trimester you get it positive. And remember that more than 95%, more than 9.5, the chances of congenital anomaly is nearly 22%. So every 1 in 5 baby will have an abnormality. So I think it's really important, and the spontaneous abortion rate rises to 14%. Uncontrolled diabetes is bad and it needs to be treated. But what happens when you pick up these patients? Remember that prevention can be done, and what we can do, we don't need to start them on medications immediately. If they can improve walk for half an hour to 45 minutes to digest your food, 80 to 95% will achieve a good blood glucose if they follow diet and exercise. And this is something where you can catch them early and prevent the problems which can happen with diabetes. PIH, one of the dreaded complications, we see a lot of it, and today we can actually predict PIH. There are lots of tests which have happened, and there is early PIH, that is before 34 weeks, and late PIH, which occurs after 34 weeks. And what we need to do is the early identification of pregnancies at high risk of early onset preeclampsia, because that can be very devastating. You might have to terminate the pregnancy because they are fulminating and they get complicated much early in pregnancy. And you have to undertake the necessary measures to improve placentation and reduce the prevalence of the disease. So these are increased maternal risk factors, and we need to be aware of it. ARP pregnancy, previous eclampsia, previous early onset preeclampsia, and preterm delivery. Preeclampsia in more than one prior pregnancy, a chronic kidney disease, autoimmune disease, heritable thrombophilia, type 1 or type 2 diabetes, chronic hypertension, increased pre-pregnancy triglycerides, family history of early onset of cardiovascular disease, first pregnancy. You have to screen all the patients. Pregnancy interval of more than 10 years, new partner, reproductive technologies, ethnicity, body mass index or obesity which is high, they're present, booking systolic pressure more than 130/80, lower socioeconomic status. Cocaine and methamphetamine use, this, I said no, we should not do it, but it's very rampant all over our country, and we must ask this family history of having drugs. Family history of preeclampsia, excessive weight gain in pregnancy, infection during pregnancy, GTD, multiple pregnancy, age 40 years older. I think all our patients come under this category if you look at the risk factors, and that is why it's very important to screen. An effective screening for the development of early onset preeclampsia can be provided in the first trimester of pregnancy. So screening by a combination of maternal factors and uterine artery Doppler. The MAP, even the FIBO guidelines have said that if you measure the MAP in the first trimester, so do a Doppler study in the first trimester and look at it, and that can help you. So what happens if these signs are positive, your double marker comes positive, what you can do is a simple, that's in the next slide, a simple 150 milligrams of aspirin, and you can actually prevent it in 70 to 80% of the patients. So I think this is something that we need to be aware of, and we need to remember to screen. Late onset PE requiring delivery after 34 weeks accounts for 2/3 of all our patients, and it's very difficult to diagnose it really early. Second and third trimester, PLGF and SFLT. See, these are all high resource setting tests which I'm talking about. But remember that in your clinic, what you can do is identify the risk factors. Doctor can easily be done in the first trimester, so that will help you. And then thereafter, be very vigilant. Rapid weight gain. Rohan Amay and Pratik. I mean, the women are safer, stronger, and smarter. And yes, that's my goal as President Foxy 2019. So come and join me and Foxy in our mission this year. We first three, making women safer, stronger, and smarter. We are obstetricians and gynecologists of India, and we are the caregivers to women. We are Foxy, and we pledge.
To provide optimal antenatal care for the best maternal and fetal outcomes.
#ANC for all. Reduce maternal mortality by detecting and treating high-risk pregnancies.
#Save lives. To help make childbirth safe, successful and a satisfying experience.
#HappyMoms.
To encourage and promote breastfeeding in India.
#Mom's milk is best. To promote contraceptive methods.
Population stabilization.
To make abortion safe and accessible.
Legal abortion.
To condemn and strongly oppose female feticide.
Baby Bachao.
To propagate awareness and screening
for genital cancers in women.
Cancer is curable.
To diagnose and accessibly treat reproductive tract infections.
HIV-free India.
To educate adults and girls on health, hygiene, and nutrition.
Friends and colleagues, this is Foxy's mission, and together we shall make it happen. We first three for safer, stronger. In the first 3 days of voting, so please, and if you're not a registered user, you will get time from 10th August to register yourself and vote. Please exercise your right. I think it's very, very important because Foxy demands that you provide a good leader. Thank you very much, and thank you Shanta for inviting me here, and all the best.
Of the dais to please give her a standing applause to our beloved Nandita Pashankar Madam, Foxy President.
On behalf of the, you have rejuvenated our Foxy. The word which I would like to cross 50 plus or 60 we are right now. We are feeling that we are too young to attend many more congresses like this to participate with viewers actually. With these few words, I immensely thank you very much. You have taken a lot of hardship to come over here.
I request officer to come up with
President of FOXI, past President of MOGS, second Vice President of ISAL, first Vice President of AMOG, and so many more. On behalf of PCOG and NOGS, we thank Nandita for delivering the oration. నేను డాక్టర్ శాంతకుమారిని, తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ ఆబ్స్టెగానిక్ సొసైటీకి నేను సెక్రటరీని. 2 రోజుల నుంచి మన నిజామాబాద్లో ఫిఫ్త్ తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ టీసీఓజీ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ని మేము కండక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాము. ఇందులో దాదాపు 900 మంది డెలిగేట్స్ ఆల్ ఓవర్ తెలంగాణ నుంచి వచ్చారు. మేము మా బేసిక్ మెయిన్ ఇంటెన్షన్ ఆఫ్ ద కాన్ఫరెన్స్ ఏంటంటే టు ఇంప్రూవ్ ద లేటెస్ట్ టెక్నిక్స్ అండ్ సెండ్ అక్రాస్ ద కరెక్ట్ మెసేజ్ టు ద delegates. మేము gynecologists and obstetricians, we are working for the maternal health in the state of Telangana andi. So we are, I think, సో ఈ తెలంగాణ స్టేట్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్లో తెలంగాణ డెలిగేట్స్ అందరికి కూడా ఈ లేటెస్ట్ టెక్నిక్స్ ఇన్ ఆబ్స్టెట్రిక్స్ గైనకాలజిస్ట్ విషయాలపైన చాలా చర్చలు జరుగుతున్నాయి. అవే కాకుండా మెటర్నల్ మార్టాలిటీ ఎలా తగ్గించాలి, మన స్టేట్ మనం చాలా బాగా చేస్తున్నాం. వీఆర్ ద ఫిఫ్త్ ఇన్ ద కంట్రీ ప్రస్తుతానికి. మన మెటర్నల్ మార్టాలిటీ లెవెల్ చాలా తగ్గింది. ఇంకా కూడా ఫ్యూచర్లో ఇంకా తగ్గించి దాన్ని సింగిల్ డిజిట్ చేయాలన్నదే మా కోరిక. మన గవర్నమెంట్ ఆఫ్ తెలంగాణ అండ్ డాక్టర్స్ ఫర్ గైనకాలజిస్ట్ ఆఫ్ బోత్ గవర్నమెంట్ అండ్ ప్రైవేట్ మెడికల్ కాలేజెస్, ప్రైవేట్ సెక్టర్ అందరూ కూడా కలిసి ఈ మెటర్నల్ మార్టాలిటీ తగ్గించడానికి సాయశక్తుల ప్రయత్నిస్తున్నాము. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
నేను డాక్టర్ రమాదేవి, నిజామాబాద్ టీసీఓజీ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ ఆర్గనైజింగ్ చైర్పర్సన్గా. ఈ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ 2-3 రోజులుగా, అంటే సెకండ్, థర్డ్, ఫోర్త్, ఫస్ట్ డే మేము వర్క్షాప్ పీజీలకి కన్సల్టెంట్స్కి చేసాము. కొత్త టెక్నిక్స్ పద్ధతులు నేర్పించాము. నిన్నటి నుంచి స్టేట్ వైజ్గా ఇంకా నేషనల్ స్పీకర్స్ అంటే ఇంటర్నేషనల్ స్పీకర్స్ కూడా వచ్చి కొత్త కొత్త టెక్నిక్స్ మేము మెటర్నల్ మార్టాలిటీ అంటే మాతృ మరణాలకి, శిశు మరణాలను ఎట్లా తగ్గించగలము మా డెలిగేట్స్ అందరికీ వాళ్ళు చెప్పారు. మేము చాలా నాలెడ్జబుల్గా ఉండింది. వీఆర్ వెరీ హ్యాపీ. ఈ నిజామాబాద్లో ఇట్లాంటి కాన్ఫరెన్స్ చేస్తున్నందుకు మేము మా అసోసియేషన్ నిజామాబాద్ తరఫున చాలా సంతోషంగా ఉంది. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
సురేష్, ఆర్గనైజింగ్ సెక్రటరీ అండి. ఆర్గనైజింగ్ సెక్రటరీ. ఇది 5వ సంవత్సరము వైజ్ఞానిక సదస్సు నిర్వహించడం జరిగింది నిజామాబాద్లో. ఇందులో పాల్గొన్న అందరికీ కూడా పేరు పేరున ధన్యవాదాలు తెలుపుతున్నాను. అలాగే పాత్రికేయులకు కూడా ధన్యవాదాలండి. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్.
వినోద, ఆర్గనైజింగ్ ట్రెజరర్ ఫర్ 5th TCOG. ఇందులో పాల్గొన్న అందరికీ మా ధన్యవాదాలు. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
నిరంతర న్యూస్ అప్డేట్ కోసం ఛానల్ ని సబ్స్క్రైబ్ చేయడం మర్చిపోకండి. పక్కనే ఉన్న బెల్ సింబల్ ని క్లిక్ చేయండి. అప్డేట్స్ ను మిస్ అవ్వకండి.